pissing distance. Or I shouldn't even say season. It's draft season. We're well in the heart of it.
Yeah,
but the draft is right around the corner. And what we wanted to do today is take a look at the 2023 NFL Draft for the Cleveland Browns. Talk about the guys we picked, how their season went, and also kind of take a quick look as far as what you think they can do next season. So let's kick it off here. The Browns, remember, traded back from their second round draft pick to pick 74. Got Elijah Moore in return for it. At the time, that seemed like a great deal.
was
Debatable.
not.
Debatable on what you
Was
think on Elijah Moore.
not worth it. Not worth it yet.
Yeah, so we'll see on him. But the man that we decided to pick with the third round selection, pick 74, one Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of the University of Tennessee. Tony, I'll let you go first. Cedric Tillman.
So decent production out of Tillman. Definitely a breakout candidate this season. Bright future. 609 snaps, 42 targets, hauled in half of his targets, 21 catches, 224 yards, 10.7 yards a catch, and 26.4 passer rating when targeted. Not a lot to go off of because he wasn't really throwing the football a lot when you have guys like Cooper and Njoku out there. And but bright future ahead. I think I'm yawning again. First time this podcast actually might be a record.
How many times have you
anyways,
taken a drink there?
I don't know. A lot.
Yeah, exactly. There you go again.
Hot, Derek. I'm fat. And it's like mid-April. It gets hot. Anyways, yeah, bright future out of Tillman. I see him having a much better season this upcoming year. Great pick for where we got him, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a superstar, and I think at this point, if he makes another solid progression this upcoming season, I think that means that David Bell is on his way out. Very excited for what Cedric Tillman can do this upcoming season. I thought he was great in limited time last season, and it's a good thing when you don't have third round draft picks that have to play a lot. Even though he did play a lot, he wasn't really called upon a lot, which is a very good thing. Despite all the injuries we had, we really didn't get hit hard in the wide receiver room long term, thankfully. But I think it'll be great this season. I'm very happy with the selection of Cedric Tillman. As for our next guy,
well, hold
Siaki. Oh, okay. Sorry, Derek. I forgot. Well, I'll let you. I apologize, Derek.
Unreal. So
unreal. Go ahead, talk.
Go take another drink again, so I get some free advertisement on your arm. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Cedric Tillman. Couple key points here. A, he was hurt coming into the year. He got injured his last season at Tennessee, right? Everybody remembers Jalen Hyatt being the popular receiver there for the Tennessee Volunteers. And listen, before he got hurt, Tillman was balling. Tillman was averaging, I want to say, like close to 15, 16 yards per attempt. So basically his average depth of target was well beyond a first down. And, he produced at a high level. He looked really, really good. He gets hurt, right? This is a guy who you didn't really know what he was going to be year one. The Browns trade Donovan Peoples-Jones. And did Tillman live up to expectations? No, he did not. But here's what I'll say. For Tillman going forward, I think he has potential to be a really, really good receiver. Problem becomes his little things, right? Route running, development, those sort of things. How is he going to produce there? Second biggest thing, what happens in the draft this year? Because Cedric Tillman is your X receiver. That's why we traded DPJ. So, if the Browns go out and they get a Keon Coleman, fingers crossed, then what happens with Tillman? Then his position kind of gets devalued a little bit. So, I think if Tillman gets playing time, he'll be better. But there is certainly a situation where he's not going to be the number one X receiver. So, I'll leave it at that. Don't judge him solely based on this past year. That is not fair. But continue.
Well, moving on to our next player, Siaki Ika out of Baylor. 103 snaps, one pressure, no sacks, one tackle, 50% missed tackle rate. Now, here's my problem with this. I was hoping to see more out of Siaki Ika. Very much inactive this season, plenty of healthy scratches. But there is no reason that big motherfucker you see on your screen right there should have a 50% missed tackle rate. Buddy, you are the size of an LG refrigerator. Wrap them up and bring them to the ground. You should not be missing that many tackles. But I don't want to say I'm disappointed yet because it's too early to judge, but I'd love to see more out of him this year. I didn't see enough last season.
Yeah, I mean he just didn't play. He didn't play all
Yeah,
year.
pretty much. Didn't
And
play.
the hardest part about the whole thing is I don't know if he's gonna play this year because the Browns bring back Shelby Harris, Mo Hurst. They signed Quentin Jefferson. Uh, Dalvin Tomlinson's already there. There's this possibility they draft somebody if like a Mike Hall Jr. is there. They might pick him. Um, I listen. Ika has promise. He plays a role for sure. I just don't know what happens with him. I'll be honest. This is the one player from this draft that I look at and I'm like, ooh, don't really know how you fit in all this. So that's my thoughts on Siaki Ika.
So moving on to perhaps the biggest guy we've got in this draft outside of Tillman and DTR, maybe. It's even arguably still DeJuan Jones, who stepped in and was an incredible offensive tackle this season. Over 700 snaps, only 21 pressures allowed, and only 3 sacks allowed. And he kind of shut down TJ Watt in that game. Uh, I was very happy with what we got from DeJuan Jones. I really think he is the future tackle, either on the right or left side of our offensive line. Great pick. And to get a guy in the hundreds that can step in and be your starting tackle from virtually day one,
Mm-hmm.
given the circumstances, I have zero complaints about DeJuan Jones. That's, as of right now, best pick from that draft.
Oh, absolutely. A plus plus pick. I didn't like the pick when we got him. I was very concerned about the off the field stuff. His size and his effort was a big story. And listen, it was real. Coming into camp for the Browns, he couldn't finish light days. And he was throwing up, and everybody was like, this ain't looking great. But he got it together, figured it out, and played great. So listen, you mentioned it. He's the long-term starter at right tackle for sure. Jack Conklin can't stay healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved. And yeah, you got that guy with a fourth round draft pick. That is an absolute steal. And like you said, TJ Watt is the best as far as outside of Myles Garrett within the division. Made him look like a joke. And I'll argue with Steelers fans all day long. He bodied him consistently. So
Absolutely.
when you get that guy in the fourth round, that's an absolute steal.
I would just like to point out Jack Conklin to me has become that guy from SpongeBob that's like, I wake up every day with glass bones and paper skin. That's Jack Conklin at this point. Moving on to the end of the fourth round, Isaiah McGuire, a defensive edge out of defensive end, not edge. What the fuck? Out of Missouri. I know ball. I promise. I'm just stuttering. Anyways, shut up, Derek. 93 snaps, 8 pressures, 2 sacks, 4 tackles, 20% missed tackle rate. Not bad in limited appearances. I'd like to see that missed tackle rate get cleaned up a little bit. He's obviously not going to have a massive role playing as a defensive end with the guys we got, Zadarius Miles, Alex Wright. He's going to be more of a forgotten guy, but there is a place for him in this team on rotation as a rotational piece. And if he can take the next step this season, he might have a long-term future as a second, third option defensive end spot. I can't complain about the pick, honestly, given for he's not expected to be a superstar.
Yeah, I love the pick. I loved the pick when we got him. I think he brings an interesting skill set as a pass rusher. I know he didn't play a whole lot this year, but this is a guy that I want to see somehow get on the field more this year. The Browns have a great rotation. Miles, Zadarius, Obo, Alex Wright, and, obviously you have Isaiah Thomas still, but Isaiah McGuire is a guy that I hope gets a chance. I know there's a chance the Browns draft an edge player this year. I don't want us to, unless there's one that's significantly better on the board. I like Isaiah McGuire a lot. I think he deserves the opportunity and deserves a chance because kind of in the same way that Alex Wright has been used in rotation and played at a high level. I think if you give McGuire the snaps, I think he can play at a high level. 93 snaps this past year, uh, not enough. I want to see him get some more. So, yeah.
So here's a guy, our next guy. Honestly, a lot of people thought he'd be the backup quarterback for the future for the Cleveland Browns. DTR, Dorian Thompson Robinson. 112 passing attempts, 60 completions, just over 50% completion percentage, 440 yards, a touchdown, 4 picks, 51.2 passer rating, 65 yards, no TDs, 2 fumbles, 30 pressured 39 times, sacked 6 times. I had a lot of high hope for DTR when he was drafted. I was like, perfect. We have our Deshaun Watson backup. But, when he was called upon this season, he just looked out of place. And maybe that was because, the lights were too bright or you're going against the Ravens in your first career NFL start. I'm not ready to give up on DTR, regardless of who the Cleveland Browns have brought in. I still think he has potential, whether it's a trade piece, whether it's a, scheme guy, package guy you bring in if you need, like, you got a 2nd and 6 and you want to run a quarterback draw. Because honestly, and I know this is not going to happen, I would like to see Deshaun Watson run the football less because, God forbid, the guy needs to stay healthy. And this is something we've touched on plenty in previous episodes. So I'm not going to get into it again. But I'm not ready to give up on DTR. Derek, I don't know if you are, but I still have high hopes for the guy.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the DTR pick. He's a guy who is a veteran college football quarterback, set records at UCLA, played well in the preseason, and yeah, it's the preseason. But listen, I was there for his first start. 2 hour notice against the Baltimore Ravens. I was there. It was ugly. It was not pretty. How much of that do you put on DTR? Because I don't put a lot of it. That's
Yeah.
And it's not even really anybody's fault. Because Stefanski, how do you make it easy for a rookie 5th round quarterback? And you don't know that he's starting. You really can't. And then when he played later on against the Steelers, you win that game against the Broncos. I thought, before he got hurt, I thought he was playing okay. So listen, I'm not ready to give up on DTR at all. I think to me, coming out, I thought he was a mix of like a Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, just not as good of a passer and not as good of legs as far as like Kyler goes. But he's got a talent. He's a talented quarterback if you develop him. Um, it's tough because Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler last year. You signed Jameis to be your backup. I don't know where he fits on the roster. I hope he stays around because, all in all, I think he will be a successful quarterback in the NFL in some form or fashion, whether if that be backup, whatever. So I want to keep him around. I don't know. I don't know if it happens, but kind of feel
So,
bad.
yeah, I agree. He was kind of rushed into it in that first start. That was a shitty situation with the way it was handled by the team and Watson and everything. With Watson opting out of the game, caught like an hour, 2 hours before the game. Little known, well, maybe not little known fact anymore. DTR was actually the backup to Tate Martell at Bishop Gorman High School in Nevada. And look at that. DTR has gone on to have a much more successful career than Tate Martell. Tate Martell wasn't even good to crack a starting quarterback spot at what, four,
Mm-hmm.
4 different colleges? Like I said, not ready to give up on DTR. Anyways, to shift back to the defensive side of the football, Cam Mitchell out of Northwestern, little under 300 snaps, 29 targets, but he allowed 21 receptions and just over 200 receiving yards, 2 TDs, 2 breakups, 117 passer rating, 2 pressures, 1 sack, 15 tackles, 16% missed tackle rate. Uh, Kind of a guy that was forced into action, unfortunately, because of injuries, but I think he could be okay in the future. I'm not ready to, throw the towel in on Cam Mitchell either. He's just got to get a little bit better at coverage at the cornerback position. He's got to learn to get some more pass breakups, get some picks, stop allowing so many catches. I think he could be decent as a rotation piece. Uh, One thing I would, if we trade any of our cornerbacks, like everyone's been saying is going to happen for the last year and a half. I really hope it's not Cam Mitchell that gets more snaps. I hope we bring someone else in, or I hope people can stay healthy. But yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation. This is a guy that was forced into action thanks to several injuries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Cam Mitchell a lot. I think he is going to be good. You got to understand the type of player he is. He's not a Ward or an Emerson where he's going to be on the outside, or Newsome for that matter, where he's just going to be able to be relied on for everything. He's a slot physical corner. And I thought he held his own. When he came in and played, I thought he held his own. I thought he looked good for the most part. Um, in this offseason, I think he could develop and another year, or I should say another offseason in the playbook. Jim Schwartz,
Yeah,
I think he could play at a high level. And so much so that I would be comfortable trading Newsome. I think if you do that, you just have Cam Mitchell and then another guy rotate, and that other guy can be a drafted corner. It's really not all that hard. But I think he's going to be good. I think he is. And AB's proven that he knows corners. And so far, I would say 100% hit rate, right? Because who's all he's
yeah.
drafted? Newsome, Emerson. Is there anybody else? Mitchell.
No, Delpit maybe. No, I don't
No,
think so.
Delpit. No, Delpit was.
No, Dorsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not ready to give up on Cam Mitchell, but I do think he needs another year of development for sure. So the last pick of our draft was Luke Whippler, center out of Ohio State. Only 57 snaps and 2 pressures allowed, no sacks. He's not going to play much. It's a guy that's not really going to be called upon unless, God forbid, people start getting injured again. I can't really judge him. He's a late 6th round pick. I mean, there's not much to really be said.
Listen, he's a guy who was a key piece on that Ohio State offensive line, and a lot of people thought he came out too early, which, again, this is a very young player, and when he has played, I feel like he's held his own on that
He's been
offensive
good.
line.
He's been good when he's played, but I don't think he's going to be called upon much next season.
No, so that's the thing. He's not going to play, and I would say after this season, maybe he gets an opportunity to become the starter. But in rotation, if somebody goes down, and honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him play Summit guard too. If one of Teller or Batonio get hurt, he's talented. He's very talented, young player. Sucks that Bill Callahan ain't here anymore because he's a guy that I saw thriving with Bill Callahan. But all in all, we don't know. But in the little time that we've seen of Luke Whippler, he's been really good. So, pretty good.